Hey everybody, welcome back to Storytime. So here's another story that happened my sophomore year in college, shortly after I became a resident assistant in Deviney Hall and was living on the 5th floor. So in the previous story that I told you guys about how I opened this door that no one had a key to and, felt that whoosh of air. And so ever since then, my boss would always joke about how I let the evil spirits loose in the building. And it's a joke until other stuff was happening. So one of the weird things was I had this habit when I was in my room. I would always I'd be at my computer, and the room was very long and narrow. So like I'd have a wall of windows. I'd have a wall of windows, and my desk would be facing the window. So I'd be facing outward, looking outside, and my back would always be to the door, and I'd have my bed right here next to me, and then in the other corner, right here next to me, I'd have my chest of drawers and a TV on top of it, so that way I could easily see my TV from my bed. So, so I'd be there at my computer, and my door would be closed, but, as a resident assistant, you want to be available for your residents if they have any questions or anything like that. So I would usually leave my door unlocked, and I would just tell people, just knock and come in, because I'd have my headphones on, I'd be listening to music, and so I may not hear you. So I just tell them, just come in, or whatever. So I'd be there on my computer, and I didn't realize this at the time, but I started developing this habit that, again, listening to headphones, I'm on my computer, and I would get this feeling that somebody might be at the door. So, so it started off, just every now and then I would notice that I would realize that I was just kind of, looking behind me all the time. I'd be doing something on the computer and just looking behind me, checking under the door to see if anybody was, if I saw feet, that somebody was knocking and I just didn't hear them. So, so it just kept going on for weeks, and I didn't realize what was going on. Like, after, at a certain point I realized, like, wow, I'm looking under the door a whole lot, but I didn't really, it was odd, but I didn't really pay too much attention to it. So one day I'm there in my room, and keep in mind, remember, desk right here, bed next to me, chest of drawers, TV. So subconsciously I'm realizing that I'm never going like this. I'm always going like this. I'm always looking over my left shoulder, to check the door behind me to see if anybody's back there. And so one day I'm really engrossed in what I'm doing on the computer. And so I'm there on the computer, and I get that feeling, and I start to turn around, but because I'm really engrossed over here, I'm doing it a little bit slower. And so I start to turn around, and I happen to look at the TV. And right there in the TV, standing right behind me, I see this shadow. I see a shadow in the shape of a person, except it wasn't really a shadow. It wasn't like darkness. It was like nothing. Like just there was nothing there. Like it wasn't a shadow, but it wasn't. It's hard to describe. It was a nothing in the shape of a person behind me. So again, like I'm here at the computer, and I get that feeling. So I start to turn, and instead of turning all the way around, I happen to see the TV, and I see this thing, and as soon as I focused on it, you get this freak out feeling, right? And then it's gone, and I didn't know what it was, and so I'm sitting there just kind of confused, not really understanding what's going on, and I realized that this entire time, for weeks, I'd been looking in the same direction. I'd been looking in that same direction because that thing was standing over that shoulder. And that's really creepy because you realize that this has been going on for a while. That's not just like the one thing that you've seen. You realize that you've been noticing this thing for a very long time, and you're just now clued into it. You're just now, noticing it fully. So that was really scary. But what happened next was even weirder. A little while later, I get a call from my friend Vettel, and she's living. She's in a couple of buildings down, and she calls me, and she's telling me, please come over, and so shit, okay, so I rushed down, I rushed over to her building, and I go to her room, and she's crying and freaking out and stuff. And so what she was telling me that she was on the phone with her boyfriend at the time, and she's doing her nighttime hygiene and stuff like that, and she's talking on the phone. She was one of those girls always on the phone at all times, so she's just there, da 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 da. And in her room she had a mirror, a sink and a mirror and stuff in her room, and so she's there washing her face, and she looks up and she sees this nothing human-shaped shadow thing behind her. And she tries to scream, she tries to say something, but she feels this thing like on her chest or around her neck, like keeping her from breathing. And of course she's on the phone, and so she's probably making some kind of little sound, and her boyfriend is just freaking out, just like, what's going on? And she can't, she literally can't even. And so she's panicking, she's freaking out, she can't breathe, she doesn't know what's going on. And she tells me that she starts whispering or mouthing, like, as best as she can. She starts praying, and by the time she got to the end of the prayer, she finished the prayer, and the feeling left. The whole presence just kind of left the room. And she cries and she breaks down, and her boyfriend's consoling her. And then so she let him go, and she called me because she wanted somebody that was close by. Yeah, we never saw it after that. We never saw any of those shadows again. But it was a really, really weird experience. That I realized that thing had been standing behind me all that time, and then when I guess noticed it, it left. And then one of my friends, my friend saw it right after that. So interesting time. But anyway, there's more stories to come, so stay tuned, and we'll see